Welcome. We're here. We're
Uh,
suited and booted. It's the last time that we're on Sport Tank. We'll go into that later. Thank you very much, folks, for joining us on the Audible. How are we, folks? Everyone all good?
you're all grand, you?
I'm all grand. As you can see, 3 out of 4 of us are suited. We do apologise, Cameron. We didn't pass you the memo. That is completely on us. But Cameron, what jersey are you wearing there?
Well, look, we're in the same spot. Neither of us are in the Super Bowl, so it doesn't really matter what happens up to that point because neither of us are going to the dance, so it doesn't matter.
What jersey have you got?
Aaron Rodgers, 12.
Mate, it's still
Super Bowl 2010.
It is still better than a Raiders jersey, so we can crack on. You look smart enough to me. Folks, what's been going on? What have we been up to?
Oh, so for me, I had a cracking session on Sunday with my Cats Academy. Things starting to bring things together now, starting to put little aspects of the playbook into form. So kids seem to be loving that. And then on Tuesday, I went for my audition, which went really, really well. Still haven't heard anything yet, but it's still early days. I've still got another audition next week, so hopefully find out by the end of that session next week if I've actually got the leading role that I wanted.
Nice.
That's it for me. Steve, you've got some big news, didn't you, buddy?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's big news. Also, I got told this morning that I've landed the job I've been working to get. So and stuff.
Boom! I'm going to celebrate by having water.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, I've actually had a very interesting week of just been going out and having nice meals. Went to a steakhouse last night. Went to an Italian on Monday. Went and had some ramen on Saturday. I've had a good weekend of just filling up.
I have a mate that he wanted to have me a bet that he could live on ramen noodles for 3 months, and I was just like I'm sort of like ready-made, like the worst of the worst, and I was like, I'm not having that bet of you because if you die, that is not on me. Cameron, what have you been up to, mate?
Training for the Sheffield Half Marathon because that's the last week of March. So mainly just running a lot, making sure my legs don't give up on me just about because it's a lot of running. So yeah, just that and then work and watching Chelsea. And I've kind of like I have not watched a lot of NFL since we got knocked out by the Bears. It upset me. So
wait till our mate's on in a minute. You're hiding your last.
Yeah,
Nathan's like that's typing already. Paragraph statements. Go on, carry on, mate.
But yeah, so I've kind of like I shut off from the NFL for a little bit, but Wednesday mentioned about this week. I made sure I watched Championship Sunday. Made sure I've caught up. So yeah, it's been nice to watch. Actually, it's interesting matchups.
Whoa! We've got a comment here. Damn, Lee looking smart. What about the rest of us, mate?
Hey, he knows stuff. That's what he knows. He knows.
Does he know what you're wearing on your lower halves?
Yeah, probably. Hey, as long as I don't stand up, all right, people won't know, will they?
If I stand up, my kegs will fall down. This suit's that big. I have. Go on.
To say, Cam, you're running the marathon for a charity this year, or are you just doing it for doing it? Or
I am, yeah. I do every kind of thing like that for Crohn's and Colitis UK because I've got Crohn's, so
mate,
something that's like it's. I always try and do something every year, but yeah, this is the big thing to start the year off.
Give us a shout. We probably push it for you on one of our stories when you're ready for when you're getting fun going.
Hang on, we've got a comment here. Bears down, but honestly, Packers owned us for ages. Oh, he's been nice. He's usually a bit more like Bears. Do you know what? There's a lad I work with who's got Crohn's, and my oh my god, be careful, my stand. My old friend, she had it too. So I do wish her all the best in that one, mate. Me, what have I been doing? Hang on, Coach Russ sent pic of Lee. Oh, your little group chat. We'll talk about that later. So me at work, gym, more kicking in the wind was really fun. And an awful lot of busy stuff with TD UK, which we're going to go over later. Right. So it was a bit of an interesting week with the football. We'll get right into it very shortly. For me, I think we all predicted pretty much bang on the results But we've got an option for toilet of the week and game of the week. I think we know how this is going to go anyway. So we're going to go with the first game. Let me just get it up, of the conference championship. The Denver Broncos at home got beat 10 points to 7 by the New England Patriots. The Patriots are back, apparently, or according to my social media. It wasn't a great game. It was very much a defense game. I've heard so many people say if Bo Nix was there, the Broncos would have won. Maybe, but he wasn't. And I'm gutted he wasn't. And it just showed for me that the Broncos' run game really needs a lot of work. After the result, Broncos have fired their OC. Who comes in next? I don't know, especially with our DC potentially going elsewhere. Cameron, I'm going to go to you first on this one, buddy.
It's interesting because going into it, it was always going to be this, especially seeing what the weather was like. It was never going to be, airing the ball out. It was going to be in the trenches and making sure that, you kept hold of the ball, because the Patriots, for all they've been good at this season, Ramondre Stevenson does not hold on to the ball well on good fields, let alone when it's absolutely covered in snow. So I thought it was going to be low scoring. I thought it was going to be defense, but I thought that the Broncos would, even though Jarrett Stidham hasn't had a snap of football in 2 years, I just did think that they'd edge it because they'd stop the Patriots scoring. I thought it was going to be, I think I said 17-15, I think is what I said on the prediction thing on Instagram. But I didn't expect Drake May to be as bad as he was passing the ball. I thought he'd be a bit better. But, it was exactly what we thought, a defensive game. And, Broncos without Bo Nix, not great. There's no plan B by the looks of things, which is something to think about for next season.
Do you not think that's quite similar with a lot of teams? So you look at like the Chiefs, for example, they lost their QB. They were screwed.
Yes, but I think that's a league-wide problem in that quarterbacks now, I think there's like 8 or 9 quarterbacks that are being paid over $50 million. And I think that's about 35% of the salary cap as of this season. Now, if you're doing that and you're someone like Josh Allen, who for years and years and years has not had weapons, or someone like Mahomes, who's just had Kelsey and had no other wide receivers since Tyreek Hill's gone, and do you think to yourself at some point, Tua as well, that's absolutely horrible contract, but you look at these players and think, do you not just take a $20 million pay cut and sign an elite receiver, or sign a Myles Garrett, or whoever it might be, and give your team a better chance rather than just take as much money as you can?
And historically, that's what Tom Brady did. Tom Brady could have gone for the real big bucks in his contracts, but he decided to keep it at a reasonable price to ensure he had the weapons to protect him, or to throw to, or to be on the other side of the ball. So I think, the common saying is, a team is as only good as your backup quarterback. And I think, like you say, it's one of those things. Teams are, putting all their hopes and ambitions into their starting QB, and they're forgetting about their backups. Their backups are a vital part of the team. They may not have the game time as much as obviously the starting QB, but at any point he needs to step in. And I think Jarrett Stidham is a good quarterback. Is he as effective as Bo Nix? Like we said at the beginning of this, the conversation. I think Mateo's absolutely right. If Bo Nix was playing, I think this would be talking about a different score and a different Super Bowl altogether. But unfortunately, it is what it is, and Stidham come out guns blazing. I think a few bad offensive calls, just a few bad plays that went in, and it turned into a bit of a punt fest for me. But Steve, what did you?
It did. I also think it showed the Broncos really need to up their run game. We are very much a passing team. Our defense balled out. Our defense was absolutely brilliant, considering how decent the Pats have been all season. Even the field goal, the weather, it all had an impact. But well done to the Patriots for getting that win. Lee, I'm going to come back to you. I want to go to Steve first. I'll get your input in a bit, Lee. Steve, because I know you've got about 1,000,007 stats, and I've got them up here, so I don't want to read them out.
Yeah, it was as everyone's covered. It was an interesting game, and we knew it would be quite low scoring. I think all of us said last week that it was going to be a field goal.
Yeah,
that sort of would have decided it, and we knew it was going to be that close. I wondered, do we reckon the Patriots purposely wore a white uniform? Because halfway through that game, that became a nightmare to see where they were. It was against you couldn't see them. It was just like, what the hell are you doing?
Well, it's the traditional away uniform, isn't it? Wearing white, so
it is. Well, when I was watching the game, I thought that was great. And yeah, Lee, as you said, it was a punt fest. There were 14 punts throughout the game, which just proves it was a very defensive game.
That's why Cowboys so agree.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that comment. Yeah,
there's but there were a couple of standout turning points. Like for some strange reason, when you went for the fourth down rather than kicking a field goal in the first quarter, obviously you missed turnover on downs. You gave the Pats the ball. If you'd have kicked that field goal, you'd have been 10-0 up going into the half, and I think that would have made a big difference. That fumble, that was a weird call.
Yeah,
because the refs decided to blow it halfway through the play, so they had to then actually play rather than take the defensive score.
There was a few other bits and bobs as well. There was we challenged what we thought. When they were given first down, every angle I've looked at that camera, it wasn't first down, and I give the commentary the due because we talked about this a few weeks ago about stopping a game, momentum and stuff like that. I think if that hadn't been such a big game, that would have been stopped and looked at properly because it wasn't a first down. However, it doesn't matter. We still weren't good enough. Cameron made a good point before about backups and stuff like that. Maybe that is something we need to. I mean, Bo Nix isn't on the most lucrative contract, but running backs wise, if we're going to have the same QB situation, then we need to invest in the right running backs. But Broncos have one of the highest salary caps in the NFL. We do spend a good awful amount of money on that, so it's going to be interesting to see what work we do in the off season. Have you got any more to say, Steve, before I move to Lee?
I think the game sealing interception, I think that was just literally a backup who had not played for 2 years, just getting a little bit scared. Yeah, 2 minutes and 18 left. It was 2nd and 9. He didn't need to just throw that ball and see what happened. Like you had the time. But yeah, it's all groundwork you needed. But what I really liked, there were only 3 penalties throughout the entire game. It was a very clean game to watch. It was all just pure defense.
Yeah, I won't disagree with any of what you said there. I think also, I think one thing we're not doing is we're not giving the Patriots enough credit for getting the job done. That's a horrible stadium to play at with the altitude. Weather-wise, they'll be used to some aspects of the snow, but that altitude, if you look at Broncos' home record all season, it's been pretty much spot on. And I said if we were within we have a group chat. If we were in a score, and I thought we were going to do it right to the very end, and it wasn't until the last few minutes, and I knew we'd done. But kudos to the Patriots. Lee, you're up, mate.
I've already said my piece.
All right.
I'd like. It was defensively an entertaining game. I think there was a couple of poor decisions by Stidham. That like we said about the interception that got called dead, which again I think the referees preempted that. They didn't. They should have let the play carry out with a defensive score before calling that dead. But I think the Patriots went on to score anyway. But I think it's these refs. Some of the decisions that they're making in game are a bit poor. Vrabel or Johnson as coach of the year. I mean, that's a really good question. I think the way Vrabel has taken this team and completely spun it, and there hasn't been many changes on that team. So I would say Vrabel. I know Ben Johnson's come in there, added a few linemen and a few weapons. So I would say definitely Vrabel on that one. But yeah, I mean, look, it wasn't the most entertaining game. The snow did play a massive part in that. And again, having no Bo Nix is one of those things that it's just unfortunate.
Do you, question to all of you, should the Broncos be happy where they've finished the season, or should they expected a little more?
I think you should be happy. I think you've done really well. New England were they've had the momentum. They didn't have the bye. They've kept going. They've had to beat 3 top 5 defenses in the last 3 games just to get there. I think that it's there's going to be minor things you'll look back on. Like I said, Sean Payton's going to look back at why he went for a 4th down, not a field goal in that second quarter. But if you're looking at tiny plays, you should be happy with the overall. If it comes down to 1 play per game, you're looking at rather than everything.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think there's 2 schools of thought here to look at. If you'd asked yourself that question in week 1, would you be happy with the season? I think the answer is yes. If you ask yourself right now, I think the answer is you could taste it and it was there and you were unlucky because Bo Nix went. So I think it's perspective and hindsight is great in this situation. But I think you should be happy because look at the difference between this year and last. And it's greatly, greatly, greatly better than it was.
We've got a comment here. Baffer.info will be better than NFL refs. We know 1st down or no. You are, mate. You are great refs. But it'd be even better if someone from your association would let us post about respect for refs instead of getting us to take down the post for their own publicity. But that's another one. No, I look. I'll be honest with you. And I've said this all the way through. I knew we were going to make the playoffs. I made up how far we got. But yeah, I could just taste it. And I was, obviously I was gutted. But I expected that result the next day when these 2 decided to let me know that Bo Nix was out and I thought it was a prank and it wasn't. But with the work that's been done and the improvement that we've seen, we know what we need. I think we need a few good running backs. We've got a few injuries on the O-line at the moment. So obviously let's get them back. Bo Nix is going to be back in time. It's going to be very interesting. Now, I'm coming on to the next question. Toilet of the week or game of the week? It can be both as well. I'm going to go to Steve. Is this your toilet of the week or your game of the week?
It's definitely my toilet of the week. It's hard, as I've said many times, I'm a defensive player and I'll watch the defense, but I don't think this is my game of the week, but it was a good game to watch. But it's definitely a toilet of the week, especially when it comes to kickers. I think you could have turned up and done better with your practice.
Hey, I'm doing great, man. I did a 45-yard kick. Definitely did a 45-year-old. I'm a married man. Definitely not that. Lee?
Yeah, this was by far the toilet of the week in comparison to the other game. So yeah, that's
awesome. And Cameron?
See, I controversially disagree. I think this is game of the week. And the reason for that is because, and we've not really spoken about it too much, is how switched on for how young he is Drake May actually is. 6 turnovers in the 2 games prior. No turnovers in possibly the worst conditions he played in. Understood his limitations. He didn't try and be Jake Mahomes. He didn't try and make the highlight plays. He just realised what the defense was giving him. He found the gaps. He made the right runs. He slid when he needed to. Yes, his passing wasn't great, but that for me shows why he probably should be MVP this season. Because in situations like that, you look at other quarterbacks in those situations, even in the playoffs so far, for him at the age that he is, to have that composure and that level of understanding of the game, there is a lot of quarterbacks that would have folded in that situation.
Sorry, mate. We've got a comment here. 45-year-old, illegal pursuit from a tail. It's all the head hits, mate. That's what it is. Yeah, look, I can understand both points. It's hard for me because I genuinely was. Do you know what? I got into the sport in 2015. I've watched loads of Super Bowls before that, but I proper got into the sport then. And obviously that was when we won the 50th anniversary, 50th Super Bowl. For me, it's the toilet of the week, just because had he not been injured, I think it would have been a brilliant game, very much backwards and forwards. But he was, and it just. I love defense. I think defense is wins games. It was brilliant, but because our offense was so poor, that's why it's got the toilet of the week for me. But that's one game down. Should we get on to the other?
Let's do it.
So let me just get this up because I'm doing about 50 million things at the same time. One moment. So the next game was the Seahawks against the Rams. Seahawks won 31-27. A very dominant Seahawks in this playoffs. I think you've done absolutely brilliant. I'm going to go to Steve first on this one.
This was, I think this was a very good game, very good, especially offensively. Also, the Seahawks came out strong, and they just never seemed to really step off or let off. They scored on their first drive, and then they got a field goal on their second drive. And it's just like Sam Darnold came out and his first throw went for 51 yards to Rashid Shaheed, just showing the stats set the tone for the game, and that was about it. What I've sort of highlighted on my notes is the third quarter. I don't know if anyone's looked into it. Obviously, there were 4 touchdowns in the third quarter. Obviously, the Seahawks' first touchdown was 5 seconds, one play, but that was simply because of that muffed punt catch, and that's just, again, that's sort of the fallback on the Rams has been their special teams. But then you got the Rams scoring in 2 minutes 21, then the Hawks taking 4:49, and then the Rams again 2 minutes 46. And at this point, I was thinking, I think Stafford's turned it on. This is when it becomes electric. This is when you start to get scared of Stafford, because he is one of those quarterbacks who just turns around. He can score in 2 minutes and he can just get it done. But then the fourth quarter turned around and I have no idea what the hell happened there. They seemed to stop playing, stop fighting for it. But it was close. I mean, if you look at the stats alone, the Rams won that game. 10.1 yards a pass, an average of 8.3 yards a play, whereas the Hawks were 8.2, 6.1 yards a play. The Seahawks, who've had a great defense, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. The Rams, 3 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. And somehow the Seahawks came out with 75 yards on the ground, overall 390 yards of offense, and still won that game. And it's literally because, I think, of that muffed punt. If it wasn't for that, I think we would be talking about a different result here.
I completely agree. We talk about football as being 3 phases. We have the offense and the defense, but that most important bit in between of that is the special teams. People really don't appreciate the special teams until it really goes wrong. And I think when you're at this sort of level of the competition, you're in the the semi-finals as such to get to the dance. You want to be firing on all cylinders, all 3 phases, firing up, getting the job done. And the Rams fired their special teams coordinator after their loss to the Seahawks in the middle of the season. That kind of speaks volumes on how poor Sean McVay thinks his coordinators is operating, and how poor they are performing on the field. And then to muff a punt in the most crucial point. I mean, he looked like he fair catched it, and then he realised that he needed to take another step back to catch the ball. Trying to catch it whilst you're falling down, it's just going to end in tears. Turn over the ball, Seahawks pick it up. It's embarrassing for the Rams to be in that situation. And I think, that was the turning point. I think, the Rams could have recovered, and it may have been a different score if it wasn't for that situation. For the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl, they need 130 yards rushing and a minimum of 2 special plays. Yeah, I mean, we know they're going up against the Patriots. Their defense is good. We've got 2 defensive powerhouses. And I think it's going to come down to.
There's not a lot. Cameron, you're up next. I'm going to say my bit in a bit. Cameron, you're up next.
It's an interesting one because the defenses of both of these teams hasn't been bad. It's actually been incredibly good throughout the whole season and to start the playoffs. But we were talking about a team's only as good as its backup quarterback. Sam Darnold 2 seasons ago, back up in San Francisco. Now look at him. Probably going to get MVP in a Super Bowl. Do I think they're going to win it? Probably not. But I mean, considering, number 3 pick, goes to Carolina, awful times, written off by the Jets, which if you're written off by the Jets, then that's pretty bad. And it was one thing after another, and fair play to him. He's not listened. He's just stuck his head down. He took Minnesota, and I look at Minnesota as well. Look at Minnesota without him this season, and just look at how far they fell. Look at how he's elevated the Seahawks, and I don't think enough credit's been given to McDonald either, the Seattle head coach, because he's come in and that team it looks different. Jackson Smith and Jigba's been incredible. He is an A1 receiver, and probably I would say top 5 in the league. They've just been very, very efficient. I think where the Rams have fallen down here is they're relying on Matthew Stafford to be great, and he is. There comes a point with every quarterback, and we saw it with Brady. We've seen it with Rodgers. We've seen it with other quarterbacks that were untouchable. Mahomes, I suppose, a bit this season that you give him 2 minutes, or even you give him one play, and you think, are they going to the Rodgers versus the Lions, where the 4th down came back for a penalty. It was like 3 seconds on the clock. He throws it 65 yards, and you just got a feeling. Matthew Stafford doesn't have that aura anymore. I don't think. I feel really. I love Devontae Adams, and he's had so many chances. I don't think he's going to get a chance at a Super Bowl, and it's so upsetting because Matthew Stafford has been so perfect all season. He's played within his limits. He's got the game changers like Nakua, Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams. He's got those game changers, and unfortunately, despite being extremely, extremely good, that 4th down incompletion with 5 minutes left at the 6-yard line is just, that is probably, I would consider that's a microcosm of the game in general. Both teams making elite plays all the time, but Seattle just making one more when it counted. And I thought it was a great game, but that muff punt, that's it. It's a momentum changer, and people don't talk about the intangibles, but that's it's a lot to see. You putting out drive after drive offensively and doing so well, only to then have something that's completely not in your control ruin the game, ruin all your momentum. So, yeah.
I've got a comment here, and I'm really apologising because my vision is horrendous. Is Sam Darnold the modern day Trent? Honestly, can someone read that? Because my vision is horrendous.
Yeah, modern Trent Dilfer. Give him a decent running back and a good D, and he will manage the game. I think he's absolutely right. It's they have. I mean, talking about their running backs, obviously we can talk about Chardonnay not being in for this game, and Kenneth Walker stepped up and kept that ball going. He was the difference maker in that offense. We had Jackson Smith and Jigba, obviously catching stupid passes, and we had Rahi, whatever his name is, catching passes, and then Kenneth Walker just smashing it up the middle. Absolutely fantastic. And the defense, like you say, defense wins games. Defense wins championships, and I think that's what's happened in this game.
Do you know what? I think it's brilliant, though, at the same time that we're getting 2 teams in the Super Bowl who we've not had them. We've not had them before. Well, I've not had them before. We've not had these for a while. Seahawks and the Patriots. It's very much been Eagles, Rams, Chiefs. So it adds a bit more of an interesting element to it. But that being said, that's the conference championships. This is a little bit quicker. We've got more time to go into the games, which is what Steve loves. So, gents, we're going to obviously go to our predictions, but hang on, we've got a comment here. Hi guys, watching on mute with text. Who said it was fancy dress night tonight? Mate, it is our last one on Sport Tank, so we thought we would dress up smart and appropriate as they've been fantastic hosts having us. We'll divulge more information in a bit. So, I want you all guys to give me your biggest overachiever of the season and your biggest underachiever of the season. So, any one of you can go first. So for me, all right, I'll go first. I'll go first. My biggest overachiever of the season. Oh God. I want to say the Steelers. The fact they got that far and they were that bad. That league, come on. The fact that the Ravens were nearly practically in it up until the end, and they were 5-1 at one point. They lost the first 6 games. I think for me, Steelers on the overachievement. Underachievers, I am going to have to go with the Chiefs. They set the bar. You know, there's reason people dislike the Chiefs and they used to dislike the Patriots. It's because consistently they were there. You know, like the Eagles. But for me, it was a really poor season for them, and I'm sure they'd admit that too. Obviously, injuries didn't help. Every team has injuries, but they had the injuries in the worst possible place, which was the wide receivers, which is the very are a prominent passing team. Oh, hang on, we've got one here. Overachievers, Chiefs. Underachieved Chiefs, overachievers, Bears. Oh, even though you're a Bear, mate, I disagree on that. I think the first 2 weeks were poor. After that, they've just gone up and up and up. Does anyone want to go next with theirs?
Yeah, so I think overachieving. I think you've got to look at the Super Bowl and really think: did we predict any of these teams to be in the Super Bowl? My ruthless answer to that is neither team would even make the playoffs if I had it in my head. At the beginning of the season, I would, whoever put money on any of these teams making the Super Bowl, let alone winning it, should be up for a good payday. But I think, the biggest sort of overachiever, I think, is got to go to the Patriots. I did not see them coming this far and making the Super Bowl, and Vrabel having such a positive influence on the team. So I think, they're my overachiever. Underachiever, I'm going to go Lions on this one. I think not much has changed offensively, defensively from last year. The only thing that's changed is Ben Johnson moving out the door. So for me, I think they've massively underachieved. There's obviously been a bit of a shambles with their OC play caller, Dan Campbell, taking over, and then I think the Lions would be the underachievers for me this year.
Very interesting. I'm going to agree with Matteo and Nathan. Obviously, my underachiever will be the Chiefs. Obviously, that's both personal and the fact we went to 3 Super Bowls in a row and then all of a sudden can't even string a handful of wins. And yes, we've had injuries and that, but that shouldn't really make a difference. I agree with what you're saying. I think we've all sort of said at the beginning, especially the first few weeks, that we didn't see the Patriots or the Seahawks. And Lee has been the one sort of talking about the Seahawks since like week 5 or 6, saying that they're an underdog and we're all ignoring them. And Matteo and I were just like passing that off as just, we'll see what happens. A shout out to the Jags, obviously, because they did much better than they have done in the last few years. But I think my overachiever would have to be the Chargers, making the playoffs, considering all of the linemen they went through. I think that if you look at that and you look at the fact that they went through, on one position, their 6-string linemen, to make the playoffs is absolutely insane. Yes, they didn't do great in the playoffs, but I think they overachieved with what they had and their injuries they had to go through. That would be mine.
You should read that comment.
Have you guys just come back from your interviews for the Browns head coach job?
Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it.
I'd rather sell cars. I'm okay. Selling the dream. Selling the dream. Cameron, have you got yours, mate?
I think, well, to one point Lee made, both of the teams in the Super Bowl entered the preseason at 60-1. to make the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl. So it's the most improbable Super Bowl pairing in the last 50 years. So I just thought that was an interesting fact. But yeah, underachievers, I agree. I think the Lions, for the weapons that they've got, for the star power that they have, they are just. I don't agree that the Chiefs have underachieved. I think the Chiefs have about found the level that they should be at, and this is because the Chiefs don't have a team. The Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, and you can't consistently be where you need to be with and Kelsey. Kelsey's got old and he can't run and he can't catch. Mahomes can't be Mahomes anymore because people are ready for it and they've realised how to stop him being Mahomes. It's as simple as that. That's not two players don't make a team. And it's the point I made earlier about how much they paid. So I think the Chiefs have found their level. But the Lions, with what they've got, they going from where they were last season to not making the playoffs this. Say a lot about offensive coordinators and this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, there is still, 11 players out on offense, there's 11 players out on defense, and they have the quality. So that's on them. As far as overachievers, I was torn between the Bears and between the Patriots. I think the Bears are probably there because, but for two absolutely horrendous fourth quarter collapses, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs. So, sorry, not in the playoffs. They'd have gone out in the first round. We'd have had them. But that just goes to show how important special teams was, as we were talking about before. I was considering the Packers in underachieved as well, because with Micah Parsons coming in and everything looking how it looked, and should have been 8-0. And Steve, I'm blaming you for that, by the way, for the start of the season. But yeah, it's been a season where the script has been flipped. Bearing in the last couple of seasons where it's been quite telegraphed and you could tell what was going to happen and who was going to be where and what they were going to be doing, this season's been a complete flip. But yeah, that's probably where I see it.
Okay. It's an interesting one because there's teams like some people are like, what about the Jets? We all knew the Jets were going to be the Jets. Raiders. I've seen a lot of things where people were saying they thought the Raiders were going to make the playoffs. I didn't. I was quite confident on that. But you Steve, you thought. I mean, we joked about the 8-0 Packers. You thought the Packers were going to do really well this season.
I did. I really, really did. They had obviously a couple of losses within those first 8 weeks. But even then, they were close losses. But yeah, sort of just lost it mid-season. But I thought because they had a great season last year, and I could see that they would improve, but they just sort of didn't after a few weeks and didn't really use the power that they've got, and especially like Cameron said, with Micah Parsons coming in, I really thought that defense was going to be a lot better rather than just relying on the offense.
Yeah, interesting one. I want to ask you one more question before we get on to our Super Bowl prediction. And you can't say your own team, who are you looking forward to seeing next season? I'm going to go first. The Jags. I think they're going to be phenomenal next season. Whoever wants to go next, you're up. Lee's just cut off. Lee's like, I can't answer this.
Lee's just like, no, I only want to watch the Eagles next year.
I'm saying Pittsburgh because we're getting McCarthy and Rodgers back, and I know that I shouldn't want another team to win, but if Aaron Rodgers can go out with Mike McCarthy and win a Super Bowl, that's about as good as not a Packers winning a Super Bowl that I could get.
Okay, nice. Steve.
So I think we've touched on obviously the Lions being underachievers. I think I have really enjoyed watching them with their random insane plays and their sort of score yard football they pull out sometimes if they can pull more of that. I would probably say if they can make use of Amon-Ra and Gibbs and Montgomery and actually put out some exciting football, yeah, Lions. I mean, I had them making the playoffs and going quite far at the beginning of the season. If anyone remembers my predictions I put out there back in September, but I've always liked watching the Lions. I think they do some exciting things, but it's just not enough.
Okay. Lee, who are you looking forward to watching next season? You can say the Lancashire Buccaneers if you want me.
It's worse than that.
Whoa! No blasphemy. This is a PG program. You take that back, you filthy. Yeah.
I'm going to say the New York Giants. I want to see how Harbour makes the team better. I think the Giants have been the joke of the division for a few years now, and I think
he's not even lying.
No. I think with Dart and Scatterbo and Harbour, I think it's just going to be a fun, exciting team for next year.
Scatterbo is just meme after meme. He is absolute gold. He's going to have the best 2-3 year career ever.
He's great, and I think with with the new weapons that they're going to add to the team this year, with Harbour's new sort of his new presence within that build, and I think they're going to. I feel sorry for the Cowboys fans out there. I think they're going to be the next joke of the division for the next few years.
Do you not worry about like the Jets though? Because like I know I've mentioned a few times that if there was a relegation, they're the team that are calling for that to happen.
Do you know what? I think they've put themselves in this position. They've got the draft picks for the next 2 years. What they do with those draft picks is going to be really interesting. And looking at this year's draft, it's not very QB heavy this year.
Yeah.
So what they do at QB is going to be interesting. I think next year's is going to be the year that they're going to go for one. So they may stick with Fields or another sort of QB. But I think next year's is going to be the year that I'm going to look forward to the Jets making a resurgence in the league.
Interesting. So that's us all pretty much done. So now we're going to go into the big game. Now we know it's not for not this weekend, it's the weekend after. What we are going, obviously next week we'll go on about that later. Where we're going to be next week, but I'm thinking next week, boys. I think we grade every team with an old school A, B, C, D, E, F, F being a fail.
Yeah.
Are we all up for that next week?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
We literally go over every team. Let's do it. We'll start from the bottom on the power rankings, which will more likely be the Raiders or the Jets, because that's hilarious. So we go on to the Super Bowl. It's the thing we've been looking forward to all season. Just before we go into it, where are people watching it? Lee, where are you watching it?
So there's a bit of chatter about one of my coaches from the academy. He's an American. He's thinking about setting up a Super Bowl party. So probably going to have a Super Bowl party with the Yanks. It's always good fun.
Awesome. Could have chose a better choice of words, but awesome. Steve, where are you watching it, mate?
I haven't actually got any set plans yet, if I'm honest. Either at home or...
If you watch it at home, I'll give you the zone login, okay?
Yeah, I mean, so what? So obviously Cameron knows. Well, when I was up in Sheffield, we used to go and watch it, and we've got a mate who I've been watching the Super Bowl with since the year before the Chiefs' first recent Super Bowl, and he used to love bringing Super Bowl bingo, which is always great fun. A little bingo card, you tick it off as it happens. If you get in line, you do a shot or a Jaeger bomb or whatever. That's always fun, but I don't think I can do that with just
I'd avoid doing lines at a Super Bowl party. Cameron, who are you picking, mate?
I'll probably be watching it at home, to be honest, because I'll have gone out the night before and I'll be nursing probably a horrendous hangover, so I won't want to be outside. So it'll be at home, I think.
I'm going to Hickories. I'm staying over. I'm going to get a hotel, and I'm going to get Mortal Kombat Mortal, finishing Mortal Kombat Mortal. Show me each day. Okay, so Patriots against the Seahawks. I'm going for the Seahawks, and I'm going for a very convincing Seahawks win. I think the Seahawks are going to maul them, chew them up. It might be the biggest mauling since Space Jam, the first one, with halftime the Monstars just absolutely ripped them to bits. Let's not talk about the second half; they cheated.
Like Tom Brady.
No. Hang on, we've got a comment here. What's this say? Can someone read that? Because my vision, yeah.
Comfy chair and a takeaway.
Look, however we all do it, I want everyone to enjoy it. We are going to, on the platform we'll talk about at the end of the show, going to put a post up. We want your selfies. Pop your selfies up of your Super Bowl selfies. And I'm going for the Seahawks. I just think they're too good offense and defense. They look absolutely up for it. And I think if the Patriots that turned up on Sunday turn up against the Seahawks that we've seen of lately, I just can't see anything but a Seahawks win. So first of all, I'm going to go to Lee.
Yeah, I'm same with you. Seahawks. Seahawks with a comfortable win. More than two scores.
Okay. Lee? Not Lee, sorry, Steve.
Firstly, I'd like to point out, if anyone hasn't actually clocked onto yet, that Sam Darnold's going to be the first quarterback from that 2018 draft to make it to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen hasn't done it. Lamar Jackson hasn't done it. Sam Darnold's the one who's turned up and done it somehow, which is incredible. I'm going for the Seahawks. I think they've got the much better offense because, as I've been saying all season, the Patriots have relied on their defense and haven't really put much up on numbers. However, the Patriots, again, do have a good defense. And I'm saying if they get at least 2 picks, I think Sam Darnold will get scared and the Patriots will win this. But I'm sticking with the Hawks, but I'm just putting that prediction out there for a bit of fun.
Hey, Cameron, you're up, mate.
I think the Pats take it. And I think the reason that Pats take it is because Sam Darnold will panic. I think that the Rams were 16th in pressure generation in the league over the season. New England have only allowed explosive plays on 9.6% of the snaps, which is the best in football. Now, if we look at that first play last week for the Seahawks, it was a 51-yard pass to Shaheed. They're not going to get that against the Patriots. Not with the way that they generate pressure, not with the way that they're great in man coverage as well. But they've only allowed 4 touchdowns from pressure situations. So Sam Darnold it's not going to be a scheme weakness. It's going to be instability. And I think in a one-off game, with all the cards on the table, it's going to be down to who can keep calm under pressure. If he feels the pocket collapsing and he just disappears, then the Patriots safeties this season have been incredible at sort of figuring out where the scramble routes are going to be. They've been closing the gaps, which is something that, Drake May took advantage of last week. So if he can manipulate the pocket by staying in it and sort of letting Jackson Smith and Jigba do what he does, which is just getting separation and getting downfield, then he'll win the game. But I think that despite his youth, the poise of Drake May and his ability to read what the defense is giving him is going to give him the edge because his defense are going to stop Sam Darnold doing what he wants to do. It's going to keep him very one-dimensional and make the game very easy for the Patriots defense. And it's going to be down to whether Drake May can maintain, all the lights are on him for the first time. He's a 2-year quarterback. Can he do it? I think he can.
Interesting. So say on the Sam Darnold point now, which is what I said about the 2 picks. If they get at least 2, I think Pats take it because you look back at the first game against the Rams. He had a couple of picks and then he got shaky and he ended up throwing 4 interceptions in the game. And he is sort of the problem. He is sort of definitely the big question mark on that squad. And especially when, you look at the Rams, when they had Puka and Adams, they had 2 threats for the defenses to watch. Whereas the Seahawks, if it's not been passed off, you've got JSN and you just sort of loosely cover the rest. But on the Patriots thing with the safeties, I noticed a few teams have been doing it this year where a lot of safeties and DBs are getting linebacker training, which is where they're getting into closing those gaps properly because it's a thing that people should have been doing it for years. Getting those safeties knowing how to play as a linebacker, ready to come in and close those gaps down because historically, safeties aren't great at tackling or doing that, which is, I think, is good to see from the Pats doing. And I don't know what Mateo's doing right now.
But that was one of the things, though. Like looking at the Legion of Boom, Cam Chancellor was one of the best at it, hitting downhill and hitting hard.
Yeah.
And that's why they were so good. I just, as I say, I think 2 high safeties, leave Smith and Jigba no space. Let him, stop him getting catches. No soft zone. Just keep tight to him. Cooper Kupp's not the guy anymore. He's not going to be finding any space. Kenneth Walker, I don't think the run defense is going to worry about him. He's too lightweight. I just don't think they're going to struggle as much as everybody thinks. Bearing in mind as well, Sam Darnold before last week had 6 interceptions and 2 touchdowns in his previous playoff games. So it's I think people are discounting the Patriots too fast.
Okay.
Mm.
So it's going to be an interesting one. It's one we're going to go over again next week. Folks, thank you very much for joining us on the Audible. I'm going to now take a moment to make a few announcements. This is our last show on Sport Tank. I've personally, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of the others, I want to thank Steve and the guys at Sport Tank for helping us put on this show. We put a lot of effort and we put a lot of time into this, and so does Steve. I think, again, I speak for us all. We'd love to come back one day to Sport Tank and do something with them. Moving on forward, this show will be on TD UK, Touchdown UK. You can find us on every platform: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, X, formerly known as Twitter. We're on absolutely everything. But I sincerely, really, I'm very thankful for Steve for helping us, for helping me, for giving me so much wisdom on what to do and what not to do. So I would really like to, again, thank him for all that. I would say this as well for anyone who's contemplating doing anything like this. Every single one of us who does this is reachable. So is Steve. He's helped me out set up the platform TD UK. He's given me some great advice what to do, what not to do. The more of us that are promoting this sport in this country, the better it's going to be. We've just seen a really sad thing with Scunthorpe Alphas potentially folding as a club for the adult contact. We will get another team pop up. This doesn't grow the sport; it just keeps us level. This sport needs to progress. When we look at countries like Germany, which are progressing, so be constructive, be positive. I'm really excited to see what we do with the Audible on Touchdown UK, TD UK. And for one more final time, and I'm going to start from the bottom and we're going to go all the way up. Guys, thank you very much for joining us every week, for the comments. We will see you live the same time next Thursday on TD UK. So for now, I've been Matteo.
And I've been Lee.
I've been Steve.
And I've been Cameron.
Thank you very much, folks. You've all been brilliant. We love you. And before I get emotional,